So I want to get from Pasadena to where you're end up in 1975 on that. I believe it's 75 on that audition, because a lot of people are very curious of, like, the same question I get asked sometimes in interviews is like, how did you get the gig? What was it like? And I want to know, you know, right before, somewhere between Pasadena and up to 75, you're going to school? Are you dancing? Are you in a ballet troupe? What's happening then?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm with a company, and I think every dancer has their blueprint. This little schematic rendering that says, okay, by this time, I'm going to be with this company. I'm going to be hopefully rising through the ranks of corps de ballet to soloist to principal. I'm going to travel the world. It didn't quite look like that, but it still happened in a very different way. So my
Yeah.
blueprint is a little skewed, but if you think about it, I was the girl, or I am the girl that has no business being in rock and roll. Because ask me about Bach and Schumann and Rachmaninoff. I'll tell you what opus, what cantata, what movement. I'm a choral music geek. So that's my jam. I lived in my Volkswagen with my dance bag and my sheet music and went to and from college.
That
Lived
sounds a lot like your daughter. Wait a second. Living in the Volkswagen sounds a little bit like your daughter, but we'll get into that a little bit later too. So now go through that, because you basically just said rhythm guitar, lead guitar, Nita Strauss. You gave that you gave this total upper echelon of, like, what were the levels of dancers that you said? You said.
Well, I was with a ballet company called the Pasadena Dance Theater, and they turned out some amazing professional dancers. But I was also a trained vocalist, and not many people know that. So upon graduation from high school, I was salutatorian of my class. I got the governor's scholarship from then California Governor Ronald Reagan. So I pretty much
Wow.
had the choice of academia. I won the Bank of America Music Scholarship for voice. So I could.
See, I did not know that. See, these are things that I want to know, and I get to know here. And whoever does this podcast, I'm very proud of them, because they get to find this information out. See, folks, so you were mostly known as a vocalist first. I mean,
Well,
dance, vocals,
I
both.
just lived and breathed musical theater, classical music, um, ballet, performance. And I had to decide. And so I think everybody comes to a crossroads in their life. What are you going to do? And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to take a year off of academia. I'm going to enroll as a freshman in college, and I'm going to do nothing but musical theater, sing, dance, act. And that's all I did, to and from school, to and from the dance studio. So came out of my third class one Saturday of the day. Now, mind you, this is when the headbands match the leg warmers. So I'm coming out of class, I'm looking like pretty much death warmed over. I'm sweaty. I've got a holy leotard. My dance pants are just so dirty. And I see all these girls getting ready for something. And I said, what's going on? They said, are you the only dancer in LA that does not read Variety or the Hollywood Reporter? Now, you got to remember, this is before the internet.
Right, right.
If you were going to find out about an audition, you had to be on that inner circle. You had to have your ear to the ground. You had to read. That was the only way you were going to know, unless the choreographer called you. So I said, no, what's going on? And they said, Alice Cooper is having an audition. And it's a year-and-a-half contract. It entails a world tour, a television special, and a full-length feature film. And that sounded interesting. So my response was, wow, Alice Cooper, who's she?
Which is probably a question that comes up a lot when asked that, because I've been asked, a lot of people go, yeah, who is she? Is she doing well? So this seems like the perfect vehicle of what you've been leading up to. It really does.
Well, I had no idea. I wasn't going to go to the audition. I wasn't ready for an audition. I mean, all these girls look great. I just come out of 5, 6 solid hours of dancing. And one of my friends said the magic phrase that I'll never forget. She said, Cheryl, this is what you're being groomed for. It's just an audition. Go for the experience. She said, besides, who says you're going to get it?
That's all you needed to hear, right?
Oh, no, 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 no. I'll go. I'll go for the experience. And it was heavy dancing. I mean, the Welcome to My Nightmare show in 1975 was the first time anybody had ever seen the marriage of Broadway and rock and roll on that level. I mean, you just didn't know what was hitting you. Like you see dancing skeletons that would appear and disappear, and giant 30-foot cobweb nets and full fleshed out spiders and cyclopses. And this was the
Was this
first
also the tour of the Magic Screen as well, or was that a later tour?
first time the magic screen was in use. So we were jumping in and out of the screen, which was on a
Explain to people that don't know. Explain to people that probably only discovered Alice Cooper in the 2000s, in the aughts, what the Magic Screen was and why it was so like revolutionary with a rock and roll show.
picture something about 20 to 25 feet tall, about 40 feet wide, and it looks, for all intents and purposes, like a solid movie screen, but it's elasticized rubber slats loose. So it's pulled up by giant hydraulics and chains, and it appears solid. However, you can part it at any point in time, elastic as it is, and jump through it. So a projection on the front shows dancers dancing, coming forward, being stopped by the sort of false proscenium barrier of the screen, and coming back again, and finally leaping through the screen at the precise moment where you're edited off the screen and you burst through the screen, and now you're live. So one of two things happen if you're off. Either there are two of you there or there's nobody there. So you have to be so precise. If you're not prepped and going through that screen as you're being edited, the whole illusion is a bust.
Wow.
So we perfected that. That was really, it was magic.
I can remember the songs that I tried out for the Alice Cooper audition. It was Billion Dollar Babies. It was 18, and it was also Poison. Obviously, Poison wasn't even an idea at that point in 75. Do you remember the songs that you auditioned for?
It was Welcome to My Nightmare. It was. First, they put us through a ballet combination. There were about 2,000 girls that showed up to this audition. The choreographer was David Winters, who was one of the gang members in West Side Story. He played one of the Jets. So I love that because he made women dance like men. We were doing athletic hitch kicks down to the floor and split leaps off platforms. I mean, it was just, I think it was in the best of my
When
life.
you say hitch kicks and split leaps, you say them like I'm supposed to know what the hell that even means. But yeah, hitch kicks and split leaps.
Welcome to my world. It was so athletic. I think I was 18. He was 26. And that show moved. And I don't think the audience ever really knew what hit them. There was never a second where it lulled. It's really exciting.
I find it very, very interesting that we both were offered the same amount of time for the gig. It was I was offered a year tour because it was that first year, 96, that was the tour with Scorpions. And it was like, and Toby goes, yeah, there's only going, and Toby is one of Alice's managers, Toby Mamus, and he's been around probably since the duration, not since 75, but pretty close, right?
I met in 75, yeah.
Oh, so you met Toby in 75. Okay.
Yeah.
So Toby told me the same thing he probably told you. It's going to be a year tour. There's no guarantees. And then boom, here it happened.
He wasn't working with our camp. I think he was more working with Suzi Quatro, who was opening for us at the time. He had worked for John Lennon and more with Suzi Quatro. And then he eventually sort of segued into our camp.
Nice. So what do you feel nailed the audition for you in 75? Because this is before, I mean, obviously you and Alice don't even know each other at this point. It's just an audition. So what do you feel was the deciding factor of like, hey, I got this gig?
Alice wasn't there for the audition. He had nothing to do with the picking of the dancers. You had to dance and hold your own with your skill. So if you were not classically trained balletically, if you didn't have that technique and that balance and that strength, that support, you could tell immediately. So they would audition us 500 at a time and pretty much go next. And I was always taught in ballet, when you hold a position at the end, you hold it until the choreographer says descendu, which is come down. And so I held this position that's called arabesque, where you're standing on one leg on half point, the other leg is back high over your head, your arms are out, you're posed, and I held it, and I held it. And pretty soon the whole ballroom had cleared, and I'm still in the middle holding this arabesque balance. And the choreographer say, "You can come down now." So at least I noticed it was a 6-hour audition. And
a 6-hour audition. Wow.
6-hour audition. I mean, at one point I thought there's nothing else they can ask me to do. Maybe if I climb a rope and hang by my teeth, I don't know. But they finally picked me for the ballet segment for Only Women Bleed. I went home, told my mom, and I said, "I don't want to do this." And she said, "Well, why not?" Well, that means dropping out of college. That means going on the road for a year and a half. I don't think I'm really ready for this. And once again, you would think that parents of an 18-year-old knowing sort of the urban myths and legends about Alice Cooper would say, "Well, not my daughter." And they were both really encouraging. I think they knew what kind of girl they raised. And they said, "You can do this." And so I did. And
on that tour in 75, 76, on that iconic Welcome to My Nightmare tour, did you guys travel all in buses? Did you have a separate, was it a dancer bus, or did you all travel as one big caravan? How was the touring level? Because obviously it was very high at that point, because Alice had already made, he was a superstar at that point. What was the level of touring that you were on, that this 18-year-old girl gets to go on for the first time?
Okay, picture this. There's a charter airplane. It's a charter plane. I mean, wasn't the Starship, that they have the $1 billion babies, but it was like a effective transport system. There was no airport security check. You get up in the morning, you get up on the plane, you travel to the next city. No buses, caravanned to the gig. But remember, you're playing small cities too, and there are only Holiday Inns. And so Alice had the only suite, which really meant a living room with a plastic blue couch. That was a suite.
Yep. Living in sin at the Holiday Inn. That's one of his best.
Luggage didn't have wheels then. It's like you're hauling your luggage up to the second level. You did what you had to do. I mean, it was work, and you're professional about it. You show up on time and you do what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to do it. But I didn't intend on falling in love.
Hello folks, Roxy here. Thanks for watching the video. And if you liked it, hit the subscribe button or one of the videos around me to watch more. If you'd like to, please leave a comment. If you didn't like the video, maybe you'll forget how to type. Thanks.